As we're getting closer to Game 1 of the first round of the Western Conference playoffs between the Mavericks and the Clippers, Harrison Graham, Jeffrey Cooperstein here have some keys to victory for the Mavericks to win this series. We know there's a history here between these two teams, and we're confident that they could take down the Clippers this time, and we'll get to some of those keys to how they can do just that. But the schedule is officially set, Coop. Game 1 on Sunday. We announced that we will be going live for Game 1 and likely all the games starting on Sunday for a watch party. More on that in a minute. But third time's the charm, hopefully, Coop, as these two teams meet up again.
Yeah, as the week goes on and the matchup gets closer, I just feel more and more confident. I really believe this team has what it takes to have a deep run. And it starts by beating the team that is kind of your bogey team, so to speak, that you haven't really been able to get over the hump against, and I think this Mavs team has all the ingredients to be able to do that. So I'm excited. Sunday can't get here any faster.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. Who you guys got in this series? Type DAL for the Mavericks, LAC for the LA Clippers. Go ahead and cast your votes in the comment section below. All right, keys to victory. You got to hunt Zubac with your trigger man, Luka Doncic. Zubac is obviously been a bit of a pain in the ass for the Mavs, but mostly for his offensive game and his rebounding. You should be able to find some favorable pick and roll matchups when he's in the game there.
And in the last two series against the Clippers, the Mavericks did a great job of finding that matchup, and Luka just destroyed Zubac there on the offensive end. Now, like you said, when Zubac is on offense, he did kill the Mavs, but now the Mavs have the ability to defend him with those two guys. As long as you can get Luka those mismatches on offense, it's going to be an easy series, offensively at least, for the Mavericks. And I believe that they're going to try to do that as much as they can. Obviously, the Clippers have length with the likes of Terrence Mann, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, etc., who I'm sure they're going to try to keep Luka on as much as possible. But if you can get that pick and roll switch onto the big, it's going to be easy pickings for Luka.
I do wonder if early on in this series, especially in the first couple of games, if that becomes a glaring problem for the Clippers, or if they go to more small ball, because, you know, they've played Zubac a lot in the last couple of series just because he was so impactful offensively. But now with Daniel Gafford and Dereck Lively, I just wonder if early on that's a big problem and he's not having the impact he normally does against Dallas offensively, Ty Lue may pivot and say we're going to play smaller and take him out of the game, because I could see that being a problem for LA. So, yeah, I definitely think you attack that early and often and force the Clippers into some sort of a decision with their rotations there. All right, you got to throw some different looks at Kawhi, obviously. Who do you expect to get the initial look at him? You think it's going to be P.J. Washington at first or Derrick Jones?
Yeah, I think it's going to be P.J. Washington, Jones probably on Paul George, but I think these four guys are going to be your guys that are going to be guarding Kawhi and Paul George, for that matter, for the majority of the series. I want to say Washington gets the first crack at Kawhi, but that's not to say that it switches there pretty quickly to Derrick Jones or even Maxi. They're going to have to find a way to make life difficult for him, man. You know, as we sit here when we're filming, we don't know if Kawhi is completely healthy either. So make sure that you're throwing everything you can at him, not only physically, but also mentally as well, trying to make things confusing for him. That's the way the Mavs are going to win there on the defense.
It'll be curious to see how often Luka gets stuck on him, because I do think that could happen occasionally.
It could.
Because with Paul George and Kawhi, I mean, ideally Jones and Washington are just the ones guarding those two, but there's going to be times where Luka's probably going to get stuck in that matchup. So it'll be very interesting to see, A, how he holds up, because he has been such a better defender this year, and B, how often the Mavs try to avoid that because they want to, you know, have Luka expend his energy more on the offensive end.
I think where the Mavs wouldn't mind that matchup is in the post, because Luka's so sturdy there, and I think if you get Kawhi and Luka in a post matchup, I kind of like the Mavs' chances
hold his own there. Yeah,
exactly. So there's definitely just going to be, they're going to try to throw everything they can at Kawhi to make his life difficult, and if Terrence Mann beats you, all credit to him.
Yeah, so be it. No question about it. We'll continue with some keys to victory for Dallas in a moment, but don't you want to make these games even more fun? Or, hell, some other NBA playoff games fun? We'll do so with Prize Picks. Daily fantasy made easy. The games are changing daily. You want to be able to change your lineups too, and with Prize Picks, you can do that. as you can play every single day with new lineups. 2 to 6 player entries, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. You got Major League Baseball, UFC, and a whole lot more. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS to get a deposit match up to $100 with Prize Picks. And here's a little 3-player entry I've cooked up, as Nikola Jokic. Prize Picks is offering a deal right now, half a point. You just take the more there. And
I think he'll get there.
I think feel good about that one. You take the more. Tobias Harris looked terrible for Philly in their playing game, and I'm going to take the less there on his points. And then Tyrese Maxey, I'm going to give myself a better chance there. A little goblin pick to lower his stat total, 17.5 points. I like the more there. 10 to win about 40 there on that entry. You can win up to 100 times your entry, though, right now with some different basketball picks. So go check it out. The NBA playoffs are here. Why not have fun in the action? You could check out some celebrity picks as well. Meek Mill, Andrew Schultz, and other celebs are launching picks every single day. 3 million users are playing on a daily basis with Prize Picks. You should be one of them. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Choose more, choose less. Use the code CLNS when you sign up to get a deposit match up to $100, and withdraw your winnings after you make some cash. Okay, next up, staggering the minutes. Coop, why don't you walk us through this one and your thinking on this key?
Yeah, I think Jason Kidd's rotations are going to be key in this series. And here's what has to happen, in my opinion, plain and simple. I think one of Luka or Kyrie and one of Gafford or Lively need to be on the court for all 48 minutes of the game. Given the Mavericks' depth right now and given their overall talent, I don't think there's any excuse for 2 of those 4 to not be on the court at all times to try to impact the game in the way we know they can. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, really the only exception is just like super situational. Like if you need a 3 late, okay, have Kleber instead of Lively or Gafford, or have Tem or whoever to get another shooter out there. But I'm with you. Within the flow of the game, there's really no reason to have Gafford and Lively on the bench at the same time. And I don't really question or doubt Jason Kidd in terms of Luka and Kyrie for sure. One of them will be out there for all 48, barring something unforeseen. But we know he gets a little Kleber, I don't want to say Kleber thirsty, but Kleber happy. He trusts him, but and that's fine, but that should be at the 4, in my opinion. I'm not sitting down Lively or Gafford because I think there's some lineup advantage with Maxi Kleber. I just don't see that existing.
And all signs are pointing to Lively playing Sunday on Game 1. If anything happens there, we'll keep you up to date. But he went through full practice on Tuesday. The Mavs are practicing again today and tomorrow before they head out to Los Angeles. So hopefully we'll get a full Dereck Lively and a full Daniel Gafford ready to go.
That should be a lot of fun. What concerns you most about the Clippers? I think the biggest concern, Coop, is it's not really anything specific with their roster because it's not that much different from what we've seen in the other playoff series. They still have their big 2, and a lot of their core is similar. There's certain guys gone, like Reggie Jackson isn't there anymore, for example. Marcus Morris isn't the player he once was when he was an impact there. He's obviously not involved anymore either. But I think what concerns is if that doubt starts to creep in. If you go down 1-0 or 2-0 to series, oh, here we go again. We can't beat the Clippers. I think it's more of just the mental game. And I think Luka put it perfectly earlier in the week. What does he feel different about this time around? It's well, we have Kai. Kyrie Irving's here now. So this is a guy that's been through playoff battles. And, obviously Jalen Brunson has elevated his game since leaving Dallas. But when they played the Clippers, Brunson
got played off the floor.
Yeah, he wasn't that guy yet. And now you have a guy – regardless of who you think is better, that's not the point of this show. You have a legitimate sidekick for Luka now, which is not something you had in the past in these 2 matchups. So I think if the Mavericks play, their B+ or better game in this series, I think they will win this time.
Yeah, you kind of hit it on the head there on the mental side of it. And the actual basketball side of it, I still think their length could give the Mavericks problems with the likes of Man and Kawhi and PG, Norm Powell as well. They have a bunch of bigger guys out there. So the Mavs will have to try to match up the way they can. And the Mavs obviously have improved length now as well with P.J. Washington and Daniel Jones. Derek Jones.
I'll throw one more thing at you, and this is more on the Mavs side. What concerns me is if the role players aren't making open threes.
Absolutely.
If P.J. Washington has one of those series, which it's been kind of hit and miss with him, he's been better recently, of where he's shooting 28% from 3. That could be problematic because then they can just kind of stack the paint and, really just pressure Luka and force him to give it up. And if those guys aren't making shots, if Tim's not giving you anything, like you need at least some reliability from those role players on the perimeter. So you got to make sure that that happens. Okay, block out the noise, and that's kind of what we're talking about a little bit here with the mental side of it. You don't want to get
caught up in the game.
You got to find a balance, Coop, because I think there's upside to barking a bit and letting them know that you're here and you're not backing down, but you don't want to let it take over the flow of the game either. You got to find that balance if you're Luka and the boys.
We've seen it in both series where there's kind of been some drawing back and forth, and I do think in the first couple of times it got under Luka's skin a little bit, maybe affected his play. Obviously, Marcus Morris tried to injure him, and that's neither here nor there. But there's no love lost between these two teams, that's for sure. So as long as the Mavs just stay level-headed and they don't let the likes of Terrence Mann and Zubac and those guys, get under their skins with the trash talk, I think the Mavs will be okay. I just think it's important that they take that mental step. And you said it, Kyrie Irving being here, I think will go a long way in helping that out.
Well, we're going to be live for Game 1, so don't miss it. Mavericks Clippers. Game 1 is Sunday, 2:30 Central if you're in the DFW or state of Texas or your Central Time Zone. 12:30 Pacific if you're out west, so come join us. Should be a lot of fun. We're going to go live at 2:15 Central, about 20 minutes before tip. This 2:30 really means 2:40. You guys know how this goes. Subscribe, turn on notifications. Coop and I will get you ready for tip-off, and we'll have full live play-by-play coverage of Game 1. And then we've kind of alluded to it, a little sneak peek. Kyrie Irving, if he plays close to what he's been recently, that's just something the Mavs have not happened in these matchups before or have not had, because Tim Hardaway Jr. had a great series against the Clippers in 21, but I think he averaged 17 or 18 a game in that series.
Their second best player was KP, who was played out of the series, partially by Rick Carlisle himself, but the Mavs have not had a second guy next to Luka that can truly win a game for you.
And I'll add this as well, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit here. Boban Marjanovic was starting the last time these two teams played.
31 minutes in Game 7.
You now have Daniel Gafford and Dereck Lively, we think. But even if you don't, Gafford himself is a clear upgrade. And I love Boban, but that guy should not be getting playoff minutes.
Nowhere near.
To be honest.
Bottom line is, I think the Mavs have the two best players in the series.
The way they're playing right now, I agree.
If they're at their best, I think Kyrie Irving is the second best player in this series next to Luka. And that should be enough to win you the series, man. And I really believe if all these things go their way, and like you said, if they play their B-plus game, I think the Mavs come out of here with the series victory. I do.
Yeah, I think if they lose this series, it's because one of Luka or Kyrie had an inefficient series.
Yeah.
/ the role players were really bad. Tim was bad. PJ couldn't hit shot. Again, I don't think they even need to be special. I just think you need to get solid contributions from the rest of the guys, and I think if Luka and Kyrie show up and play well, I'm not going to say it's going to be a cakewalk. I'd probably say Mavs in 6, but I do think Dallas wins this series if they play, their B+, their 85 out of 100 type of game.
Can't wait, man. Sunday afternoon, be sure to join us. It'll be a lot of fun. Let's go, Mavs, baby. It's about to get real fun around here.
Yeah, it'd be fun to get off to a good start and win Game 1 on the road. We'll have more coverage leading up to it, and, of course, on Sunday as well. See you then.